No, I guess.
I'm sorry.
Now doing, participants,
I don't know.
more,
So I guess.
uh,
No, it's over on the screen. Sometimes it doesn't decipher.
Recording in progress.
Okay,
That's right.
You can be your speakers and would be your. Or muted. Okay, so it's gonna pick us all up. That's great. That's everybody. It is, and we are live. Can everybody hear us?
Yes, Becky, can you tell me who's in person? Just Susie?
Sure. All right, I'll call the select board meeting to order at 5:34 Geneva for the minute. And we can look at the agenda. So we have public comment at 5:35, followed by the select board review of our select board minutes from February 27th. Then the select board will review the new Concom regulation fees. Last day for select board to receive petitions and warrant articles from the public. Then we have the select board to review the first right of refusal letter. Discuss topics for scheduling an all board meeting. 6:15 set up a set date for PFAS update event with our LSP licensed site professional. Review first draft of the annual town meeting warrant, town administrator updates. And then our executive session has actually been canceled for this evening and postponed to the 23rd, 26th. Does anyone have any additions they would like to add or adjustments? Rita or Eric? No? Thank you. Okay. All right. I will open it up for public comment. Does anyone on the screen have a public comment? Or would like to share it? Okay. All right. We'll move on to our minutes. Does anyone, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes so we can discuss the edit if we have them? So moved.
Second.
Were there any
I-
edits? Hello? Do we have any, does anyone have any edits or clarifications or anything for the minutes of the 27th?
I just had one on number 2. It says in discussion topics, it says Farrell makes a motion to approve letter to Amy Mabel. Who is Amy Mabel?
she was the representative of the Attorney General's office,
Oh, sorry.
attorney in the.
Should we just put that in there?
Yeah, just
The
maybe.
Attorney General's office
AG.
representative attorney.
Yeah, yep.
Okay, that was all. I was pretty sure that's what it was. Yes, confirming.
Anybody else have anything else?
No, they look great. Okay.
All those in favor of approving minutes?
Carol, I.
Stalker,
Maybe Sonia, aye. Okay, moving on to, I don't see Beth yet. For the Concom regulations, because we are running ahead.
And we ran over, so she was kind of pinched.
Oh, she was leaving here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Is there anything we can move up?
Yes, what would you,
Maybe the right of first refusal thing?
Yes, that would be
Yes,
nice
perfect.
and short. So, we received a request from a lawyer for this, right of first refusal, and upon research, our head assessor has determined that the Shutesbury Assessor's Office records indicate that the town of Shutesbury no longer has a right of first refusal on the Conway parcel DW16. located at 18 January Hills Road as described in Attorney Bartley's February 20th, 2024 letter. There are no rollback taxes. Things had been processed back in 2019. The attorney did not assume that because the lien was still on the property, but they are moving ahead and as a result of going through this process with the town and the research done. So that, taking care of that.
That's easy.
Right.
A couple of these went on the agenda tonight.
All right, is there something else we could move on?
How about discuss topic
Yeah.
or discuss scheduling or?
All board meetings,
Yeah.
that's probably would be pretty easy.
And part of,
We haven't done an all board. meeting.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, not certainly since the three of us.
not since COVID started. So, the first question would be, how would we handle it? Would we handle it as in person?
And what was I'm trying to remember the timing, and didn't we typically do it in the fall?
Yes.
So is that what we're thinking, is that we would do? Because we have annual town meeting coming up, so just that,
So that would leave that would leave potentially maybe doing one in June or in September. I think it came up in response to Michael DeCara's question about what the town's position is on going to all Zoom, 100% Zoom,
oh, right.
or sticking with hybrid or moving towards in-person meetings. And when this question came up, I asked Grace about it, and she said she gets a lot of comments from committee members and different chairs all the time. People's opinions on this issue are all over the board. And as we talked about it, we were thinking, an all boards meeting is the format to really get a good sense
Yeah,
of what everyone's thinking.
yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, and June is probably a good time to do it.
We can do
rather
it
than
outside.
waiting. Yeah.
I think, because if we're gonna decide on something as important as how meetings are, right, we should probably have it sooner than later.
Because I think we have a year before the legislation, it comes back up, but I think getting our feedback to legislatures, if we develop a consensus around it. It would be,
And then we can just do what we're for Shutesbury.
that's why we don't want the rules to be absolute that would prevent us from doing things.
Right. So that might be a good idea, and then, people can, if they haven't seen this setup, we can have it set up. So they can view it, right?
And also, I think we could talk about how well this is working. I mean, if people sort of say that sometimes the sound isn't great out. How is the sound tonight? Is it, Geneva? Are you able to hear well?
You sound, yep, you sound great as long as people do not talk at the same time. But I will say that when you have people in town hall with you and they're talking in the background, you cannot hear them on this end, not clearly enough.
Okay, so that's also something good to know, 'cause there's a setting in the speaker where we can down do background noise. So we can play around with that too, to find out the right setting for larger noises.
So I think, doing, I mean, we already have maybe like a couple of topics about the hybrid in-person meeting. And just technology in general would be good to talk about. And I think having all of the boards and committees kind of reporting in as where they are. And I know certainly from the Community Preservation Committee, it would be a good opportunity for us again to talk about CPA funds. We ended up with no projects for this year. And I had thought, gee, this property down on the January Hill Road would be really, probably a really good opportunity for open space acquisition and possibly some affordable housing too, so that's kind of unfortunate that that didn't work out, but, you know, I know CPC would like to give kind of a short presentation on CPA and how to use, so, and I think if we then survey all the, departments and committees, it would be, we'd ask them, so we could put an agenda together based on what we hear from.
And that's when maybe if not all members are gonna come, right? Not all
Right.
Members come, that the chair or someone else, they talk at their meeting about how they feel hybrid, you know, we'll ask them questions related.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
should give them some warnings, they talk about it
So that they
amongst
can have-
themselves first.
Right, right. We could say that that's a topic that we want to address at the meeting, and then are there other things that they would like to talk about? So what do you think, like the middle of June, or we kind of just have a tentative,
Yeah.
or maybe a week when we don't have a select board meeting?
I have two now, let's see.
So did on my electronic calendar.
So Juneteenth is, there's a holiday.
Okay,
There's the week of the 10th that doesn't have a select board, and then the last week of June doesn't have a select board.
yeah, we do the week of the 10th would be great.
Okay.
Then otherwise we're getting into
On it.
possibly vacation.
The week of the 10th,
So like
Where you going to?
June 10th.
June 10th goes from 9th to the.
What morning?
Okay. Okay. All right. So would you do the 11th on that Tuesday then?
Yeah, that sounds great.
We can talk more about food or especially
The-
the outdoor.
The format we had done, at least one of them, was we did our meeting part, and then after we had a little bit of a social, so people could actually talk to each other.
And
Yeah, that'd be great.
And see each other.
Yeah.
long overdue.
What time?
5:30.
5:30. I know we get feedback from the general public that 6 is hard for people to make food work. But 5:30 or 6.
Yeah, just, why don't we say, see if people have a preference.
Okay, well, 30. Or maybe we could have a short select board meeting at 5:30 and then break into the all boards meeting at 6.
Sure.
And Beth has been here for a few minutes.
That is, yeah.
Hi, Beth.
Hey, Beth.
We were running a little ahead, so we, put a couple of things on. I'm going to, attempt it here. We received the, Concom proposed fees that you had sent us. I'm gonna pop it up on the screen so that everyone can see it, and if you wanna walk through it, unless you wanna share your screen and walk through it, if you have it right there.
Why don't you share your screen, but I can walk people through it, but
I
that'd be
can do one,
great.
'cause I'm using two screens, so I have to make sure I pick the correct one. I picked the wrong one. Hang on. Because now we can't see it in the room. So I have to undo this, put it onto this. Okay. Then I have to go to the Zoom. Share. Number 2. There, everybody's gonna see themselves for a moment. Okay, can you all see that? I'm going to move you guys over. Okay. All right, I'm gonna increase this so we can see it in the room. I know, right?
Yeah,
All right, all right, can everybody see that we're sitting here? Yeah,
I can.
Yeah,
I can see.
good. All right, Beth, do you want to take us through, what you're proposing and what you're, what the background is for choosing these particular fees?
Sure. So what we have here, there's current fees, which are so under our bylaw that's still active right now. And then we've got the proposed fees for Shutesbury, which is what is in the regulations that were approved by the Conservation Commission a bit ago. And then I just have a list of, and actually, this table actually, Miriam had put this together. Mostly I added some stuff to it and organized it. And I think she originally took it from something I had done in Amherst too at one point, but it's just comparing to fees that other conservation commissions, some nearby towns and then some towns that end up getting a little bit further away from Shutesbury. But just quickly, so the current fees, all we have right now in our bylaw is the $25 fee for either an RDA or a notice of intent that has to do with any work that's basically not single family home type development, and is also less than 5,000 square foot type project. So that's $25. And then we have $50 for a single family dwelling. Basically, I think it's really meant to be for when if it's a new house. And then you add an extra $50 every time you're adding another dwelling. So if it's like a multi-home development, you'd add an extra $50. So that's all we have right now. We have no other fees. I guess we do have a $25 fee for permit extensions. Those are the only fees right now, and we're proposing, we have this new small projects provision in our new regulation, a new project category, and that's $25. And then the regular RDA would be $75 with an extra $5 for every acre. So $75, I think, was the first 5 acre, up to 5 acre project. If it's more than that, it's $5 every additional acre. NOIs, these are based on the NOI categories, which I'm not going to torture you by going through the NOI categories, but the state, under the Wetlands Protection Act, has all different types of projects divided into categories. And the state charges by category. So each category has a different fee associated with it, basically based on complexity. And so these are sort of the same. So the category 1, $100, category 2, $100. So that's what that is. And I could, provide you guys the list of categories if you're interested and what projects fall under those.
Like to see a category for those, because that's a significant amount when you get to the 400 and 500. What categories are those?
Which, the $500?
The
Yeah.
4 and 5, yeah.
Yeah, so those get into like residential developments, so large scale construction projects. I think a single family home is 100. That's category 2. So yeah, the higher prices are for the larger developments. Or for if you're
Like a
you know,
subdivision, Beth, it's more multiple single family homes, for example, or a multifamily development?
right, a subdivision would be in the $400 or $500 categories. And then some other projects that may impact wetlands heavily. If you're doing work on dams, things like that, those can get in there. I can send you guys the definitions of those different categories for the NOIs.
Beth, can I ask you a question, just since you mentioned it? So for example, with the NOI, so there's a local filing and then there's also a filing with DEP. Is that the case? And so are people paying 2 fees? Are they paying a local fee and a fee to DEP? So it would be
Yeah.
double. Then.
Yep. right? You'd be paying the state fee and you'd be paying the local fee.
And what's the justification for, people are already paying DEP, what's the justification for us charging this much money? What are the fees used for by the conservation?
Yeah, I think in general, so all the fees, not just NOI, but all of the fees, the ideas that all towns charge them for, a lot of it is just for administration, so everything having to do with, mailing out permits and stuff, and, photocopying and paper and binders, and so administration of the, Wetlands Protection Act in general. And then, and I'm not
Those
quite clear.
fees-
What?
Those fees don't go into the general fund, do they?
There's a line item for the fees in the budget.
A line item,
There's the money comes into a line item that is available for them to spend.
it's for the conservation.
For the conservation to spend on notice of intent related work, including employees. It could be used, we used to use it to offset, when we had extra hours of work for the clerk, that could be used for the clerk.
Okay,
So department costs that involve, notice of intent.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, and sort of simple costs would be, like the stuff that Carrie does, and we were just in the conference room just a little bit ago today, and just, there's a lot of organizing that she could do, and things that you would need, just binders, photocopying, and then we do a lot of mailing out of permits, and that kind of thing. But then also, as Becky said, for some extra hours for Carrie if she needs it. If we start sort of collecting some money, and so then we actually start to get a little bit of pot of money, there is the idea of maybe eventually working with other towns to share a conservation agent that might, who knows which direction the Concom's going to go in terms of how many applications they're going to get, if ever we end up in that, thinking of that again, this pot of money could go towards that. We don't get any money for enforcement, so if there's an enforcement situation and we need to hire a lawyer, this pot of money could be used for that too. I
Okay,
think anytime there's like third-party review and stuff like that, the applicant actually pays for third-party reviews and that kind of thing. So, but there might be situations where we would need to hire a lawyer.
But it could only be used for a notice of intent related issue
That's true.
from that amount.
Right, so that the fees, how the fees are collected, that's how they can be spent. Are you saying that if it's a fee collected for notice of intent, it's actually kept?
Yeah, the notice of intent has a separate fund.
Okay,
Meaning, but even like the money that comes in, say, from a extension, which is a different column, but it would still go into the same pot of money, but it can only really be used for permitting purposes, like not, it can't be used, the way I understand it is for improving like conservation lands, like trail maintenance and things like that, because that's not permit related. That's how I've always understood it. And then just looking at the table, so we've added fees for most of the documents that the Conservation Commission has to issue. So amended orders of conditions, certificate of compliance, and RADs, permit extensions, emergency certifications, and then reissuing of the certificates of compliance or the order of conditions.
When the question is, when you roll this out and you post it on your website so that people who are, looking at doing projects see the fees that they may be, are you gonna define like under NOI, what each category is, and then anything that has more than one fee, what that category that goes with the higher or lower fee would be?
Yeah. In fact, this table isn't the exact table that's in the regulations. It's a bigger table that takes up the whole page. And it does have more description of what each of the fees are.
Yeah, Becky just actually showed it, and on the NOIs, it just says category 1, 2, and 3, but for the public, I think those to be.
Yeah, we
very-
can add more of a description to each of the NOI categories in that sheet.
And, yeah,
That'd be
and, less acronyms as well,
Okay,
or at least
Yeah.
definitions.
yeah.
Should be in appendix A.
It's in the
Yeah.
regulations.
The
Yeah.
regulations in appendix A, it says it.
Beth, can you talk about the NRAD? Just running through how, like an example, so it says $2 a linear foot, not under, yeah. Not under
Yeah.
$100, not over.
Yeah, so with an ANRAD, you'd be paying a wetland scientist to delineate the wetlands. So that's why it's per linear foot of wetlands. And then I guess it can't be under $100. So the cheapest for an ANRAD is $100. And then it's not to go over $200 for a single family home, not to go over 2,000 for anything other than that, like, commercial, which so many of these things don't really happen so much in Shutesbury. I mean, when I think of other, I would think the library might be one of the only, I mean, well, the solar projects too. So those larger delineations, the total fee can't go over $2,000 if you're basing it on $2 a linear foot.
And what's the policy with town projects? Are they charged the fees?
Actually, no, yeah, municipal projects, no fees. As far as I know from my experience.
And is that in the regulations or is that stated anywhere?
Good question. I can look at our regulations. I'm also wondering if it's sort of like a town policy, because I'm assuming also you don't pay planning.
Building inspector doesn't charge. Nobody charges. The planning board doesn't charge. ZBA
Right.
doesn't charge. Concom has never charged.
Okay,
It's ongoing practice.
okay.
Um,
I don't know, maybe,
Agreement based, but
Yeah.
It's not that it shouldn't be, but.
Yeah. I don't know, yeah, it might be good to state it.
Yeah,
rather
I can
than-
see, I'll see if it's in our regs and,
Yeah,
Yeah.
at some point when the regs are, I'm not sure if the regs have to be revised at all based on the new bylaw, but it would be great.
yeah, they do.
Yeah, okay. To just put in there, put into the fee schedule.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Very good.
Since these are pretty significant fees.
Yeah. I guess, do folks see any real issues?
I see Becky's hand.
I just had a question, Beth, if you included Pelham, who doesn't charge any fees? Is that what that means, or are they
Good
just
question.
not listed?
That is a good question.
Okay,
I can, I don't know what Pelham does. Again, Miriam first made this chart. But yeah, it looks like they don't charge anything, which could be the case. And that's why we're comparing to them, that they don't charge anything.
so that would be an option.
Yeah. I do find it interesting that Amherst fees are so low.
Good talk.
I know. I just find that interesting, since we're comparing them, you know.
Yeah, I'd say we're very similar to Amherst except for our NOIs. Really, well, the RDA, we're charging 75, they're charging 50. It's just the NOI that is a little different.
And the permit extension, too, after this new thing.
So, but just to go back to my, question about the DEP fees, so they're getting fees on NOIs and on NRADs, is that correct? And not on an RDA? Or does DEP get a fee for an RDA too?
No, DEP doesn't get any money from RDAs.
Just from NOIs and from the NRADs?
Yep.
And on any of the others, the extension or anything like that, that's all just the local,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, they don't charge fees for those either.
Do 50% of the local fees go to the state?
Did you hear the question?
No, what was the question?
Hear the question.
Does 50% of the local fees go to the state? Or is it 50% of the EDP and the DEP fees go to the town?
Right. 50% of the DEP fee comes to the town.
So if we didn't have a local bylaw, that fund would still be funded through the DEP fees locally.
So we're getting money back from DEP and we're charging more money on top of that.
Yes.
And again, that's just with the NOIs. And I guess the ANRADs.
That,
Yeah.
And the MRAD.
Beth, was that also on the NRAD too?
So she said,
I have to look that up. I don't think there's a 50-50 split with the ANRAD for the state filing. I'd have to look.
I've only read it for the MRAD.
Yeah, no, it's definitely how the NOI works is there's a fee and you split it in half and then pay half to the state and half to the town. And then these are local fees on top of that.
So the town, instead of 100, would be getting, say, if they're both 100, would be getting 150 based on that. So then would it be advantageous to make our fees $50 less or 50% less? So that a person wouldn't have to pay that larger amount? I don't know. It's just a thought, because we're already getting half of what we was the DEP. Maybe our fees should be half of what, so that we get the full amount. Does that making sense? It makes sense in my head, but it may not make sense out loud.
No, it makes sense. It would reduce what is collected.
Yeah.
And reduce what a resident pays.
Right, so you're right, we reduce what was collected, but also what residents have to pay. That's a question.
Yeah, I feel like if there's an area where it seems these may be a little high and that we could reduce this with the notice of intent.
The half the fee comes back to us anyway from DEP.
Yeah. Yep.
50% should be 50% of it comes back. Maybe that's an area that they could be reduced.
yeah, I would be in support of that. I think, yes, it's a big jump. And the fact that we are getting money back from the state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I see it. I get it. It's a big jump from what Shutesbury's got. I mean, our bylaw and regulations were so old that, you know, we've kind of been behind the times and not charging something. And I feel like most of the other fees are kind of right on. They're equal to some of these towns and they just seem about accurate, but the notice of intent does seem a little bit high even to me. So All right, so if we reduce those to 50, 50, 100, 200, and 250.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It just, I'm looking at the other towns down below, and Southampton is kind of high, but those communities have a higher, I think, in median income than Shutesbury does. And that's who's gonna be paying these fees, except for the larger developments. And people already complain about their taxes. So, keeping that in mind, like for the NOM, especially if there's a 50% kickback already.
So Beth, you need to go back to the commission, right? If we were gonna.
Yeah, I think this could come when we update the regulations based on the bylaw changes. We
Okay.
can, I'll add this to the list of things that need to be changed in the regulations and then re-voted on, yeah.
And then the select board has to approve these, is that correct? That's
Yeah,
why.
Before they can be charged.
Okay. What's the timing, Beth? Do you have a sense of when you'll be looking at the regulations again?
Probably next month. I know we won't have the bylaw back, but we were just talking about that, we can still go ahead with, the updates to the regulations that we know would be based on the bylaw with the assumption that the Attorney General is gonna approve it. So yeah, probably next month.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll add this to the list of changes. Sounds good.
Yeah, that's fine. The other piece can be fairly consistent.
And when you're done, we'll get you back on the agenda right away. Just let us know.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Beth.
All right, thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Alright, stopping sharing, and look, we were back, with smooth sailing, okay. Let's celebrate that for a second. Let's see, we've done that and this, and now, topic. Last day for select board petitions. For us to receive petitions and warrant articles from the public. Is that today? Yeah. Okay. So today was the last day.
Today was,
Today is the last day, but I mean, you can receive them tonight, but if none come in.
Okay.
so this is, petitions and warrants from the public.
From the public, not
Okay.
from, not internal.
Okay. All right.
So tonight.
We have received one petition yesterday and it's included in the, warrant. The rough draft. Okay. That's the last article.
All right. And so we've done further refusal, discuss topics for our board meeting we've done, and date for PFAS update event.
Yep, I was wondering if you want to try to do that at our next meeting or wait till May.
I think it would be good to do it sooner rather than later. So
Yeah,
our
I think
next
that way.
meeting
Is the 20
is March 26th. Yep. And would he be doing PFAS and gasoline?
Yeah,
Okay.
And how long would you need for that meeting?
probably, they'll say 5 minutes, I would say 15.
20?
Or, yeah, just in case we have questions. Do we, is that meeting, where we would be doing the warrant too, or the annual town meeting warrant, or
No, I think, no, it's
is the
in
following
April.
meeting? Okay.
I see your hand raising on a second, okay?
Hi,
in-
I can't tell if it's my internet or if the mic's having issues. I'm having some trouble hearing you guys. I just wanted to make sure we we're all on the same page. There are 2 citizen petitions.
You don't
So
have
there's-
the second in the warrant.
I couldn't hear you, Becky. I'm sorry. It must be my internet.
I do not have the second one in the warrant. I only have the one that, you emailed yesterday on the warrant.
Okay. There's also the one I emailed to you guys before from Mateo, the non-citizen voting in local elections one.
Right.
So there's
So
that
that-
one and the one that came in either today or yesterday. Honestly, I can't remember at this moment. It's just been all elections all the time.
It's been the last couple of days, yeah.
Okay, so that needs to be added. Thank you very much, Grace.
Thank you. I might have to leave. I just wanted to make sure that we had those 2 citizen petitions noted. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just let Michael know that the executive session. I'm not sure
Oh.
if you got the email.
Michael, just an update, the executive session has been canceled for tonight
And rescheduled for 2 weeks.
on the 26th. It was a late breaking news.
Good to know. Thank you.
But you're welcome to stay if you like.
Well, you guys are going over the warrant, so I'm gonna chime in for that too.
Let's see, we are looking at the date for the PFAS, so we have that for 20 minutes, maybe at the beginning of the meeting, since he's gonna, right?
Yeah.
That looks good at the beginning. And then, okay. Now we're doing, are we finished with that one? Right. So review the first draft of the annual town meeting warrant.
Okay, I get that up. It is in the folder.
I gotta get my folder back. Hold on. Kind of behind the room.
So, annual town meeting warrants begin on April 27th, 2024. I used yellow to highlight, articles that are repetitive. I believe the assessment article will stay the same, but we have not yet received it from the region. But I will be careful to confirm that. The yellow, so,
Okay, can you just speak up a tiny bit? It's even hard for me to
okay,
hear.
article. Oh, here's we have to renumber and move something. So Article 2 is the Amherst assessment, of annual event on that one. The second one is we have an employee who's also an elected official. That is always on the warrant. I'm sorry, I deleted 2 warrants in between them and get those, the numbering corrected. The treasurer's vote on compensating balance agreements is so that he has the authority to work with the banks to get the best, benefit package he can for the fees they charge on lock boxes or cancel checks or bounce checks. Article 6, the town votes to, Article 6, Article 7, the town allows the select board to apply for grants. Annually, Article 8, also annual, is duplicate of number 5, so that has to be deleted. Article 9 is the revolving fund annual article to allow us to move receipts into these accounts and use them and refill them. Article 10, I left in here because we are hopeful that we will get more clear and clean water funds, and we are working on that. So that is brightly colored because we are hopeful that it will happen. Article 11 is the budget article. I just put in an estimated amount. FinCom has not yet finalized the budget. That will happen in upcoming weeks. Then we have a list of capital items. We have the work to be done at the elementary school, the final phase of a 3-year project that included the gym roof replacement, the asphalt roof replacement, and now this exterior facade work replacing trim and siding, as well as the full painting with 3 layers, primer and 2 top layers of paint. The amount of this is really $163,000, but will be supplemented by the balance of funds left over from the asphalt roof project earmarked from the state. We have a request for the $40,000 from our newly configured building committee renovation account. This request has been lower some years, 25,000, but the building committee is halfway through, almost identifying on a priority spreadsheet a long list of repairs to maintain our buildings. And they will speak to that at town meeting. The $12,000 requested here is for a body camera grant. That is a total of $24,000. It's a 50% grant. So Kristen is hopeful to receive those funds. I just wrote.
Okay.
Can you move it?
No, it's on your screen, so I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, hold on. I will pop on in the chair. Give me a second.
So I should just,
Give me 1 second.
thank you.
You're welcome. Give us one that we get the lock screen. Two. Here. Can everybody see that? Shake your head. No? Yes, okay,
Yes.
thank you. We're at number,
The capital item. More, well, there, go up just a little bit, yeah. So completing the body cameras, the town is asking for $12,000 for the balance of a $24,000 grant that Kristen has applied for. The next capital item is also for the police department. It's a request for $70,000 for a new pickup truck cruiser that will replace one of the three main cruisers. And we will be going down to 3 cruisers. The 4th cruiser that has helped us through all the detail work, it will be auctioned off. The capital request from the highway department is a $4,500 new storage unit request that they will put together using roofing materials And, at the end of the main barns, the longest barns that are perpendicular to the front building, and they'll make a lean-to between, the containment, the container unit, and then have a lean-to roof from, the roof of the other building, and be able to store in the container and other equipment below the roof. The next capital item is also for the highway department. It's a $25,000 request for a new generator and propane tank. Out of all our buildings, the highway department will be the last to get, a standing generator to get upgraded to that. They have used, small diesel powered generators to get through all these years. In the ice storm in 2008, they were the last ones to get online. It's the highway department turned to have consistent power to address their needs during an ice storm or a power outage. The highway department is also asking for $12,000 to rebuild portions of gravel roads. Our new highway superintendent has found that we're down to bare bones on our network of gravel roads, and he has already begun laying more material over the worst sections of our different dirt roads. And he has a plan in place. He originally just came to the finance committee to request to be added to his gravel road budget. But as this is a year where there's a lot of pressure on the budget, the finance committee recommended that this should be a capital item and that this capital program is going to be ongoing for a number of years. So it'll be addressed that way. So that's all the capital. As Rita mentioned, CPC did not have any requests this year.
They got pulled. There were a couple of projects, but then, yeah, people didn't follow through.
So they did not, so at least there was some interest, but it didn't stand out. So the two CPA articles here, the first is the administration, the first is taking the received funds from the state and distributing them to the different accounts, the open space and recreation, historic preservation, and community housing. These are not final numbers. I will need to work with the accountant and typically Mateo will probably send me an email with that data in it. So that will be updated. And then the second CPA article is the $2,500 administrative fee that they get each year. The MLP is actually budget. I didn't have it in the form I could get it into the warrant, but Gail will sent me one, I think, at some point today, and I'll get that replaced with the updated one.
And that was
For
for
you.
you last year, I remember.
Yeah, it was hard. Utah. So that the MLP budget, I think, is actually going down a little bit this year, despite all their work on, no, it's going up. Thank you, Susie. The fees are not going up, though. That was her point. That's the importance to the public. The fees will not go up. So that will be replaced with the FY25 chart. And okay. I'm assuming, I know we have some bills of prior years, so I put the articles there, they are not complete at this time. And then we have, brought forward from our police department, the Shutesbury solicitation bylaw, which will require a majority vote. We've had a couple policies in the past, but this is upgrading to a bylaw that might stand the test of time better. Those were highlighted by her version. So I think it's that clears directly to a solicitor, but we need to. We have, now we've reached the municipal energy storage general bylaw. That is a general bylaw, but has been written by the planning board, and Michael Harris here will talk us through. And unfortunately, I'm sorry, the formatting on this bylaw was lost. There is a copy that is sent in the Google Drive that is formatted. So I think we want to turn it over to Michael.
Okay. Michael?
Yeah, so, and just FYI, your mics are a little bit weird. It sounds like you guys are underwater, but just for feedback.
You have to yell at the owl.
So, as Becky said, the planning board wrote this, but we're recommending it be a general bylaw. And so that means it's under your purview in terms of it doesn't need a public hearing. One of the things I sort of pointed out to you all when I sent it to you is that the select board might want to consider holding a public hearing, even though it's not necessary, just sort of like how you do informational stuff. And if you did, I'm sure, you know, myself or someone else from the planning board would come. Basically, this is looking at how to deal with energy storage generally throughout the town. It's for energy storage generally, and then there's a subsection that's particularly focused on lithium-ion batteries. But essentially, it's to ensure that the public health, welfare, and safety of residents are protected, given that this is an industrial use of sorts. And the Word document that I sent to Becky that it's probably in Google Drive, breaks it out. Some of this, I'd say that there are other towns that are doing energy storage as a general bylaw. So Wendell is doing it. I think the town of Wareham is doing it. Donna recommended it, which is important. When we had conversations about how to proceed, she suggested that she supported this idea of doing it as a general bylaw. So it's appropriate for everywhere in town. It's not based on zoning. And there's no grandfathering. So as soon as it's in, it's in. And it's retroactive for whatever. So I don't know, I forget how many pages it is, but do you all have questions that I could speak to? That is really dense without the formatting, I gotta say.
10 page, I mean, you did send it to us, Michael, so we have it. Select board has it, not in this format, you know, where it has the section. So I assume that this is to address what the AG did in rejecting what we, in our solar bylaw, when we incorporated energy storage into it, that it was not accepted by the Attorney General.
Yes. So I'll be careful in answering this, because I think what we want to be careful is not having this be seen as an end run to the Attorney General, where this is a zoning bylaw in general bylaws clothing. So I think with the rejection of the zoning bylaw last year, and the rationale, just to remind everybody, was that the AG basically said that their interpretation of statute in terms of the solar exemption is that it extends to all energy storage, whether it's on-site as an accessory use or it's standalone primary. So that's why the AG rejected it last year. As their general bylaw, the solar exemption does not apply. And so being that we, like Wendell, like Wareham, all have legitimate concerns about energy storage, we thought that we would put it forth as a general bylaw. And the analogy that Donna made was, it's sort of like regulating gravel pits. She sees it as the same kind of thing. So there's a lot of towns that have gravel pit general bylaws. So, but essentially, Rita, to answer your question, we still think it's an issue. We think the town needs to address it for public safety. And so presenting it as a general bylaw seems like the only path forward.
And has this been, or bylaw like this been adopted in other communities and approved by the Attorney General?
No, this is the first round, I think, that, so Wendell's doing theirs the beginning of April. Theirs is similar in terms of length and detail, but the language is different. I think it's Wareham. It's either Wareham or Carver. Theirs was really short. Theirs was a citizen petition. And both, well, all the other two plus ours differentiate between 1 megawatt systems and below, and 10 megawatt systems and above. And so somewhere in the background, I think it's the feds differentiate and say that 1 megawatt systems are small capacity energy storage. And so the idea there is that those are not regulated by this. And then the important thing, just based on a couple of years ago conversation, all residential uses of energy storage are exempt. So this only applies to non-residential in town. And Donna wanted to make sure that we wrote it so that it was a general bylaw and it wasn't zoning like. So the terminology and the focus is a little different.
So Donna has reviewed this, Michael?
Yeah, she hasn't seen the very, very last one, but she saw the iteration before this, and we made edits based on her comments. So I think, what I would suggest is that she look at this, of course, and look it over and make tweaks, but being that she suggested we go in this direction, and then she made suggestions after seeing the first really long version of it, I'd be surprised if there's too many changes that she would recommend.
Okay, I guess given the complexity of this and the 10-page that we don't wanna hash all of this out on town meeting floor. So I think the suggestion of having I don't know if we were planning on doing any kind of pre-town meeting review of the warrant.
The budget hearing has been set
Budget.
for, I think it's April 20th. Or close around that.
Or maybe a little later. Because the town meeting is April.
It's very close to the town meeting.
Okay, all right. So but would we do this at the same time as the budget hearing?
Because it's general. Is there any other part? Because we haven't done the warrant.
When you have a hearing, you usually get public feedback, right? In the past for bylaws, so you have to allow yourself to have some public feedback and adjusting if you needed that.
I don't think there's, because it's not required.
Right, the hearing isn't required, but because of the complexity, the select board feels they need to. make sure that they need for review, so.
Yeah,
and
I
then,
support
Michael,
that.
Yeah, that's what you had recommended, I think. So, Michael, did you, what is the date of the hearing for the zoning bylaw?
April 8th at 7.
It might be good for us to piggyback, for this article, to piggyback on that. Would it be okay for the select board, since it's a general bylaw, at least piggyback the same night?
I think if you do it the same night, and it's just very clear about, the select board calls the hearing to order on this one, just say you did it at 5 or 5:30, whatever, that the select board would open a hearing, discuss this one, close your hearing, we would open our hearing so that it was distinct and there's no confusion. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a Monday.
And the one thing I was just going to say, there's some guidance in statute in terms of public hearings for zoning bylaws, but I don't believe there's anything. So it's sort of like you're giving the chance to the public to see it, ask questions. You're only on the hook in terms of what your common senses and desires are in terms of taking feedback and incorporating it. Donna can tell you that officially, but there's nothing that says that you have to change it so much as you're giving chance for exchange. So it's all up to you.
So that makes sense, to just do both on the 8th then, yeah?
Yeah, what time is yours, Michael?
7.
So if we did it at, what, 6, you wanna do it at 6? Okay.
An hour? Yeah.
Sure, 10 pages an hour.
And Michael, you'd be doing the, you or somebody from the planning board would do a brief, like bulleted presentation, the highlights of this.
Rita, I would make sure that you memorized it and have you do it. Just kidding.
Okay,
But he's gonna write, right?
okay, you're right.
Yeah, I will, I can commit to
I'll
being there.
deliver.
I'd be happy to do that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, good, yeah.
Okay. So you move on down the line. Yep.
Now we get to the zoning one, 10 pages, keep going. Oh,
The light zoning.
Want me to talk about this one?
yes,
This one came out of last year, wasn't it?
2022.
Oh, okay, even prior to that. Okay.
Yeah, we were supposed to do it last year. We couldn't get our act together. There was too much going on with the solar stuff. And I'll say this was unanimously approved by the planning board.
This one's not 10 pages.
no. The next two are much shorter.
Did you want to speak to it at all, Michael?
I didn't hear what you said.
Do you want to speak to it at all, or?
Well, I think so. Basically, what we were trying to do is, there was a request coming, there was a citizen petition in 2022 that I can't remember if it got withdrawn or voted down, but there was a vote to ask the planning board to bring a lighting bylaw to town meeting for consideration. That should have been last year, so we're doing it this year. And what we're trying to achieve is there's, I think in the purpose section here, actually here, I've got a readable version on mine. So the purpose section really speaks to the idea of regulating outdoor illumination and practices. So the three things are trying to minimize light pollution, light trespass, which means sort of going over property lines, and then unnecessary glare or sky glow. So preserving the darkness, not having lights mess with either neighbors or traffic, things like that. We wanted to keep it simple. There's a lot of them that are really complex. I will say in the definitions, Donna's already seen this as well. Donna asked to have a little bit more specificity in what low intensity and warm temperature were, which is why the Kelvin and the lumens are in there. When I was writing it, I really wanted to sort of keep out the technical stuff and just sort of have it be more conceptual. I think one thing that we are pleased with is there's a section at the end, which is dispute resolution and enforcement. And I took away my experience doing dog hearings on the select board to guide this thing, because it seems like it's the same kind of vibe. And so encouraging residents to try to resolve things before themselves, and then having it come to the select board if there's no resolution, and giving the select board basically the discretion to figure out what to do. So it could be sending the police to fact find, it could be doing a range of things, it could be sending people back to talk to each other again, but it seems like this is an important thing to do. We sort of struggled with what enforcement is. Police is too heavy-handed. Some bigger municipalities have light enforcement officers who also seemed way too regulatory. So starting with neighbors talking to neighbors seemed like the Shutesbury thing to do. And then the last thing that's worth noting is that we wanted to make it effective as of town meeting date. So if people have lights that are out of compliance, they get grandfathered in. So just last week I was driving up Leverett Road, and now I'm paying attention to this stuff. And there was one light that was like glaring on the road, And I was like, oh, that's not a good one. But those people, they get to keep their lights the way they are. So the idea was, and the reason I raised it, we considered this, Nantucket had a version where within 3 years of passage, everyone had to comply. And we thought that, you know, that would have people incurring costs and people would have pushback. And really, if, you know, we're trying to have a reasonable, common sense kind of approach to this. And so if we do it at the date of town meeting going forward, no one is going to retroactively have to make changes. It's just if they do like major renovations or something like that. So. And it's definitely a growing thing. I know Northampton's it's been in the paper with Northampton a while. You know, different municipalities are doing different things.
Thank you, Michael. Now we're on to citizen petitions, but there should be two here.
There should be, but we only have one on the warrant right now, and Grace, clarified for us. So this citizen petition is Forest Allies for Responsible Solar Citizens Petition. And it's like it's formatted like our regular petition. It's a resolution to keep Shutesbury Forest connected and therefore climate resilient.
And this one, these are, do the citizens know they're not binding, even if they do?
Grace has been
They should-
explaining that, so I believe they should understand that. I think at the last they asked is at least one of the asks is at the very end that the select board keep these, therefore be it resolved that the town of Shutesbury Select Board shall urge our legislators and governor to end state incentives to large-scale ground-mounted solar installations on connected forested land, advance state incentives to site large-scale ground-mounted and related solar installations on previously developed and or disturbed lands such as rooftops, brownfields, or parking lots, and support legislation that allows municipalities such as Shutesbury to regulate construction of large-scale solar installations to preserve our natural landscape, safeguard our water supply, and produce energy in a more climate resilient and responsible way.
And we have one other citizen petition that will be added.
Yes, and the other is regarding voting rights for non-citizens. And that's what we have so far.
Okay.
You go over you skipped over the other zoning bylaw?
Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
did I? I'm sorry.
There was one small one in there.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. It's,
No, go down.
Oh, I'm sorry. I scrolled too quickly.
There we go.
no, that's the lighting one. It should be, it says, zoning bylaw amendment. It's sort of
That's his lighting.
it's a collective one.
Did I do two twice?
That's
like
the,
you're-
that's the.
Looks like Michael, I did the other one. I did lighting twice.
You
and
did-
this
well,
the
let's-
other.
Oh, okay. So you want me to share my screen? Can I do that?
Yeah, I don't think the other one's in there.
Okay, so I had the wrong up when you were, no, this is lighting. No, that's perfect number.
Here, I'll share my screen. It'll be, if you're gonna be, it's,
I think
Yeah, go
he
ahead.
amended with the wrong title, right? The title is wrong, but the document is.
oh, okay.
Zoning
But it's in
bylaw
a different format
Yeah.
than you sent us.
Okay, here, I'll just share mine. It's easier if you can see that.
and
Yeah,
Copy and
yeah,
paste his format.
Okay, so in this one, and the two zoning bylaws are already on the planning board webpage, so they're there. The lighting is new, so there's no new language. This one, the red indicates new language. So there's 4 different parts of the zoning bylaw that are getting amended in this one warrant article. And you can see them listed at the top. The first one's changing with the use table. We're creating a section for industrial uses. And we're moving these four things: soil mining, light industry, wireless communications, and wind monitoring to industrial uses. So separating them out from energy, because energy has become a thing. But none of the requirements change. So you can see under the four different zoning areas, everything stays the same. So there's no change. We're just creating a new category.
Let me see
Um,
our SP on our screen.
Did you make the document a little smaller?
I have to go to the left. Oh, wait a minute, no, it's me.
Oh, it's,
Hold on. I changed my ratio. Don't change it, Michael. I changed my ratio.
Okay,
That's it.
should I keep going?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, so associate members is the next one. So if you remember, I guess it was 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, the town voted to expand associate member powers on the planning board. And then the AG came back and said, we approved some of it, but not others, because we interpret it differently. Donna has suggested if we wanted to go forward, we should take a legislative pathway. You guys were involved in that. So the legislature submitted it, the governor signed it into law probably like 2 months ago. And so the law is reflected in this first line, chapter 1 of the Acts of 2024. And we have to put it in our bylaw to basically say that we're changing our bylaw to reflect what the home rule law is that we asked for. So really, this is coming full circle to approve what we approved 3 years ago, but now it's in state law through home rule petition. And then the reason G is there was a last line, which I guess I could put it and cross out, but when we originally wrote the associate member, what's currently in there now is that it prohibits associate members from participating in executive session. And we took that out because we want to reserve the right to include them if we decide it makes sense. So it doesn't ensure that they participate, but it keeps them from being prohibited. So that's associate member. The review criteria, this is around special permits. Donna was encouraging us to do this one as well. So just with all special permits, in general, there's 4 sets of findings that the planning board or the ZBA has to consider when looking at a special permit. And then there's a whole bunch of specific findings. And we basically went through and updated them given conversations and understanding and things. So all this means is that these red items that we highlighted, when the planning board is considering approving a special permit or denying a special permit, we have to answer these questions and say, yes, it meets this or it doesn't meet this, and write it up as part of the findings. So Donna was very supportive of this one and liked this approach. And then lastly, we had a special permit on Leverett Road somewhere in the last year. And we had a situation where the planning, it was a house setback way back from Leverett Road, and there was a existing sort of dirt road path. And we approved it by saying that, I forget what it is exactly, but it was like the path had to be 10 feet wide and 1 foot from the stone wall or something like that. And then the applicant had to go to the ZBA to get approval. And the ZBA said, we approve it, but it has to be like 11 feet as opposed to 10 feet. And in that process, the planning board sort of came to the agreement that for things that were really de minimis, that really were teensy weensy, that we didn't want to make the person have to refile, pay for filing fees, have another public hearing, and then send us the same documents that were unchanged. So this process basically says, if either the planning board or the ZBA votes to determine that something is de minimis and therefore just really insignificant change, that we can vote to approve it. It has to be a request in writing from the applicant, then we would vote. But then the applicant would be able to avoid those 3 things: additional filing fees, another public hearing, and then refiling unchanged documents. So that's an addition to amendments. Right now, what the black part in that says is essentially, if we were to make that change, you have to do the whole process all over again, even if it's just a 1 foot change or something really teensy weensy. So those are the 4 things in this consolidated warrant. Any questions?
What if the planning board and zoning board don't agree on whether or not something's a significant change?
Well, we don't have to agree. It's not that the two boards have to agree with each other. It's that, like, sometimes the ZBA does the special permit and other times the planning board does the special permit. So if the planning board voted on the special permit and then either it came back to us or whatever, we would have to vote to determine if it is de minimis. If we decide it is, then we can proceed. If we don't get, special permits are a 2/3 vote. So you see in the second line, it says voting in the same manner is required. So it would require a 2/3 vote of the planning board. I'm assuming the ZBA is probably the same 2/3. If 2/3 of the members think it's de minimis, then we can proceed and waive that stuff. And like I said, it has to be in writing. There's a sort of a time period. And if it doesn't change, then we do everything the way it currently is, which is, we have another public hearing. We have to submit everything and pay some more money.
Thanks, Michael.
You're welcome. Loads of fun, right?
Yeah.
Looking forward to the 8th.
There was nothing else on, I don't need to share. Okay, right, so that was.
That is the end of the one.
Okay, that's the end of the warrant. Okay, so we'll now move on to town administrator update.
Um,
Okay, here we go.
so we, had a fire inspection of town hall last Thursday that the fire chief attended and, has come up with, again, some concerns about this building. The only place there's an active fire, detector. There's 2 of them in the building. They are both in the elevator area. And it again has been recommended that we extend our, fire alarm system throughout the building. We finally have go-ahead and a way to remove the 2 handle poles that are historic relics in the building. One is attached to a sorted out system, and the other will, if it's pulled, which no one, my memory has done, recently, will sound the bell. There'll be a loud siren that's supposed to take it down here, will go off. These things need to get removed, so I need to bring in an electrician to have them officially removed. It's been under discussion for a couple of years, and this will be the year we get it done.
What's the replacement for the rest of the building?
We, Lenny requested, full project scope of what is required to get done. We don't have an estimate from that cost. It's probably going to be significant.
Does citizens have something tied into the monitor with us? They can put in for less than.
We will ask that question. The citizen system in this building, the fire station and highway, all need to be replaced. They're on their last leg. So I think we would want to do an RFP, an RFP for all 3 buildings and not just start with quotes from them. So with the goal of next coming to happen.
And some battery ones from Home Depot we put up in the meantime.
I will talk to Lenny if he finds that appropriate. The fact that there's nobody in the building for significant periods of time. I'll see what he says. That might read false. But,
Well, and
he
at
was
least
like,
to warn people there's a fire in the building.
we do have the active fire alarm in the elevator that acts up. So we often have the fire alarm go off, but no fires.
Fire happens in the copy room. So it's not the elevator goes down, the building won't be savable.
And we're supposed to keep the doors on the steps closed closed by fire code. I do tend to leave them open because we did have so that air can travel through. Pretty important, and that door you'll find is often perched open to that airlock where the fire alarms are situated. So that's the upcoming budget buster.
Wow.
It can be, it doesn't have. There are, I mean, easily installed system for safety and whatever, simply say one person can set it up, doesn't take long, and it's fairly cheap, and can monitor, and call fire and police department.
And we might
And
want
it's
to,
wireless and cell phone, and so there's no landline if it gets cut.
and if we can tie that into the other alarm, the door, the alarm, that would be great. Hopefully we'll end up.
You may or may not be able to do that, but if you need something temporary, it's cheap enough temporary and can call fire. Until you get funding, because having a year without any fire, anything in the building is good risk.
That's about all I have to do.
Just PFAS and gasoline.
Yes, PFAS, gasoline, we got results on the air quality test that was done, and no, the air quality test was right. They tested the water in the sump pump, and the sump pump water tested negative for VOC, which is a very, very good sign, and we were waiting on the results on the air canister that has go to the lab. So 1 out of the 2 is very positive, and so the DEP report that Jeffrey Arts is working on will include that data and the argument for the fact that it's localized activity on the VOC.
Hang on a second. Mike, I see your hand up.
I'm gonna circle back to 2 things about the warrant if I could, but I'll wait to the right moment. So I didn't want to interrupt.
So that's,
Has anything been done to the gasoline situation or no? Just that's where.
we've been testing actively we retested the monitoring wells again, and then then he needed to get more evidence about the specifics of how it was impacting the property at 15 Leverett Road, and that's what we did. And the PFAS testing, since we've gotten most issues resolved, with there were 5 tests that were contaminated. I think I told you last time. Those have all been retaken, and letters have gone out. We've gotten all letters out this, working last week and this week to residents regarding those results. And they have been held up because the tests have been contaminated, and it took about a month to redo everything. And, then we'll schedule Jeffrey Arts to come in and answer your questions and get that publicized a bit so people can attend.
Great.
So I have for today.
One thing about PFAS, I want to know, we're not, they're class action suits against PFAS manufacturers. Should we be investigating that somehow?
I have the information. I had correspondence back and forth with a lawyer that's setting up, the Massachusetts effort. I'm gonna continue to work on it
Okay.
to get us online. And our, police union negotiations will start on Thursday. Starting, today I had a meeting with the highway department and, Concom, which, was a good opportunity to, for the highway superintendent to get questions answered and that's. We will be meeting Thursday also with the initiative about the vehicles and energy issues regarding the vehicles, that they will put together a report and help try to guide us towards the electrification of our highway fleet as well as others. So that'll be interesting.
This is the National Grid.
Yes.
Okay. And who's that meeting with? Who's
Um,
meeting?
I invited, I think Michael's probably gonna be there. I don't know if the select board would like to attend. I can send it out to you if you are. It's reviewing all the information I sent them on our automotive.
Oh, okay.
Is the first step.
Yeah, I'd go maybe, I can't remember.
Yeah,
what I'm
I'm there.
Just, I'd like to know about it.
Mr. Lynn.
Yeah, Mr. Electric. General Electric. Sorry. Yeah,
And I have to-
And Michael had a question.
Yeah, I just had two things I just forgot to mention about on the warrant discussion. One is, since the energy storage is a general bylaw, the planning board's not gonna put it on our website, so I mentioned to Becky, you just wanna, someone has to figure out where to put it, and then if you wanna let people know about the hearing, you know, it'll be up to you all to sort of send out a town announce or something, just so you don't think we're doing it, because we're not gonna do it. And then the other is just a heads up that I think I emailed, if not Becky, the whole select board, but ECAC a few weeks ago did this informational session about the opt-in stretch code. And so we're meeting next Tuesday to decide if we're going to recommend to bring that to town meeting. It has to have a town meeting vote if we approve it. So I don't know where people are leaning, but just as a heads up that I think if we brought it forth, there's already canned language on the DOER website, so it's not like a 10-pager thing. It's just a paragraph or something, is my guess. So as soon as we vote on Tuesday, I'll let Becky know. But that's just a heads up.
So you're talking about for this town meeting?
In addition to that,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Melissa was there. She can tell you all about it.
Good to know that. It was actually a good session. I thought it was a good session. There wasn't very many people there, actually. In fact, it was Try that again, Mike. Can't hear you. Okay, try unmute.
he's muted somehow.
we can't hear you.
Hold on. Let me see what I can do.
There we go. How's that?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, there you go.
Oh, I was gonna say, it wasn't a large attendance, like Melissa said, but it was a good conversation, and the representatives from DOER, I think, did a good job of explaining things. So. And it's recorded. It's on the ECAC website.
Great.
Okay, do you want a motion to adjourn?
I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Okay, I move that we adjourn the select board meeting.
Second,
Okay, all in favor?
Carol, aye.
Dr.
Keith O'Neill, I thank you.
All
everybody.
right, thanks.
Thank you.